of this very planet, we welcome you to another exciting edition of Radio Biafra live transmission on this very day, the 16th day of November, this very holy Shabbat day, this very last day of the week, because tomorrow is the start of a new week. Therefore, we must preach this very gospel as intended. We must disseminate this very news of liberation. We must continue tirelessly and relentlessly in pursuit of that which is righteous before God in heaven and good men on this very earth. I welcome you. And I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to some of you. Regardless of where you are, regardless of what you are doing, as long as you are close to your dial, if you're in Biafra land, CHK 102.1, 102.2, depending on where you are. This live transmission is coming to you also via satellite uninterrupted. We are live on Facebook. We are on Radio Biafra app. We are also on radiobiafra.co. If you do not know how to receive Radio Biafra, ask those around you, or you can Google it. You will be able to find us. If you want to be enlightened, if you wish to be educated, if you have the yearning for wisdom and for knowledge, this is the only platform that can guarantee that, because we preach this very gospel in truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. That is why we have sustained and endured till this very moment. It doesn't matter what the enemy does. It doesn't matter what the forces of darkness intend to do. It doesn't matter how many of them come against us. We remain resolute. We remain determined. We remain committed to the inescapable realization of the sovereignty of the Republic of Biafra, that Elohim may bear us witness that this very generation, this very Ipob, they were blessed and they came. They saw and they not only conquered, they set the sons of men free. And as I welcome you, I will encourage you to welcome those who are around you, because this is a citadel of learning, the very pinnacle of knowledge. I will encourage you to make sure you have your pen and your paper ready, and come with a very charitable dose of common sense, because here we shall endeavor to educate you. Here we shall endeavor to preach this very gospel of truth and of redemption, that light may come where once there was darkness. This is Radio Biafra. My name is Nnamdi. I am the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra all over this very planet, and by the very special grace of Elohim, a servant of the wonderful people of Biafra. This same Biafra that we call upon every blessed day must come in our time. Before we proceed any further, as it is customary with us here, we hand over all our proceedings to heaven. Because Igbo language is the language of heaven. On the throne, seated up most high, is Elohim the Creator. And all around him are the angels and the host of the heavens, bowing down. That is why we must always exalt. That is why we must magnify. That is why we must bow. That is why we must kneel. That is why we must submit ourselves unto your will, because you and only you knoweth everything. We ask thee, Elohim, on this very evening of your Shabbat, to come and dwell within your children. Give us reasoning, give us understanding. Come and encourage those who are still in detention, their families, those who have suffered, those who are in mourning, those who have lost precious and loved ones in these very efforts to restore your kingdom upon the face of the earth. We are not deluded. We know what we are doing. We know the price is very high, but it is a price that we are prepared to pay to ensure that your kingdom will descend from heaven upon this very earth in the land of Biafra, that your light may shine in the continent of darkness. And above all, that your will may be done upon our lives. Therefore, we pray that you bless this very generation, this very IPOB that only you instituted, this very movement that have taken the entire world by storm. We have nothing, absolutely nothing, only your grace. Therefore, we pray, Elohim, to open up our eyes and our ears, that this very gospel, O Heavenly Father, may dwell amongst us, that we may derive reasoning from it, that we may become emboldened by it, that we may ceaselessly, without fear, before our enemies proclaim the righteousness of the existence of Biafra as a nation. We call upon thee to be with us. Abide with us. You forbade us to commune with the spirit of the dead, but we ask you to accept every of their soul in thy bosom. For your work we shall do, and in the end Biafra shall come to the exaltation and the lifting up of your holy name. Now and forevermore we pray. He said, we welcome those who may be joining us for the very first time. This is Radio Biafra. This is a live presentation to the entirety of humanity across the 24 time zones of this very earth. Radio Biafra is resonating. Our enemies are not sleeping, they are relentless. Jibril has fled from London because they told him that IPOB is rallying today in London. They quickly smuggled him out and took him back to the zoo. That is how formidable we are. Relentless and ceaseless, we continue to move forward. We do not deviate. We will not capitulate. We will not surrender. We will never retreat. Our destination is Biafra, and until we get there, everything we encounter we crush. Not by the force of arms, but by the overbearing strength of our argument, our knowledge, our wisdom, and our intellect, which till today has never been challenged by anyone. Therefore, we must continue resolutely and determinedly towards our destination, which is Biafra. From time immemorial, we have preached this very gospel. We have said repeatedly what the Fulani cabal is going to do, and they have never proven us wrong. They have continued to do it. Today, people are lamenting. Even Goodluck Jonathan, the former president of the Zoological Republic, is lamenting. Even those they have called upon to superintend their voting process are complaining. Nothing is working. The zoo is precipitously collapsing, being held up only by the most extreme form of brutality, the most inexcusable nepotism and dictatorship. But all that is unraveling, and it is coming to an end, because unlike before, now there is IPOB. Now we are marching relentlessly towards our goal, which is freedom. And in the process, I'm sure we will be able to liberate every nationality, every ethnic group trapped in that damnation created by Lugard. But before we proceed any further, I must comment on the effort we are making to ensure that the issue of Biafra resonates all over the world. because there is a lot of deliberate and orchestrated ignorance about Biafra. I want our people to listen and listen very carefully this evening, because some of us do not understand the enormity of the challenges that we are facing. Only those of us at the very cold face of this movement understand the gravity and the weight of not only expectation, but of the problems that we encounter on a daily basis. But thankfully, to Elohim and no other, we continue to surmount all these problems as they emerge. Things are happening. Things are happening in the zoo, which we are obliged to expose. But before we do so, we must inform you that we continue to make every effort to ensure that every government, every country, every nation is aware of the efforts we are making to restore Biafra in truth and in every honesty. When we saw diplomats at the United Nations in Switzerland, without mentioning names and without prejudice, there was a comment that one of them made that resonated with us. He said to us that this is the very first time we are having this high-level meeting with representatives of Biafra. He went on to say that this has never happened in the past 50 years since after the war. Therefore, our petition to them will be looked into, and that something will be done about it. I thought he was going to stop there, but he didn't. He went on to say that those of them that have tried to raise the issue of Biafra at the UN headquarters in New York face a very steep challenge. He said that each time they mention Biafra, a very stiff challenge, I must say, not steep, but stiff. He said anytime they mention Biafra in any meeting, most people stand up and walk away. That the diplomats do not want to discuss it. They do not wish to discuss it. And of course, we went into details as to what we are going to do to make sure we mitigate such occurrence, or should I say occurrences in the future. Our people must understand the demons that we are fighting. Only by understanding the demons you're fighting will you be able to overcome them. Some of us very flippantly comment about Biafra as if you just wave a magic wand and Biafra will be there. Things don't work that way. That was why we failed between 1967 and 1970. And it is a mistake that this very crop, this very generation of Biafrans are not prepared to repeat. We must also know that the war was forced upon us. But one thing we never factored in was the level of hatred and resentment, should I say envy and jealousy, directed against we Biafrans because of our ingenuity, because of our industry, because of our natural talents that we possess from the womb of our mothers, because we are blessed. As you all well know, those of you who are versed in the scriptures, you know the story of Joseph and the siblings. These are the children of Jacob. Joseph was hated not because of any bad thing that he did. He was hated because he was loved by his father and blessed immensely. The same thing is happening to we Biafrans because we are blessed, because we are talented. We attract envy and jealousy, resentment, unfounded, I hasten to add, from quarters that are ill-informed. We must not stop. We are not going to relent. We will continue. The same thing that Israel went through is what we are going through today. And as Israel managed to overcome by the grace of the Almighty God in heaven, the same way are we Biafrans going to succeed in planting Biafra as an independent sovereign nation amongst the committee of civilized nations around the world. People must understand that this zoological republic, the Nigerian government is doing everything they can to stop us. They continue to bribe ambassadors posted to the zoo. They continue to pay every known media around the world not to ventilate the Biafra issue. They continue to lobby. They continue to engage countless numbers of consultants to make sure that a false narrative is issued all the time against Biafra. They started this very work immediately the war started with the help of the British to spread this very falsehood that Biafra never existed, that we are a people without history. I'm saying all this tonight so you all will understand the obstacles that we are faced with on a daily basis, these obstacles that we are seeking not only to encounter but to overcome. They are massive. Some of you think that only the Efulefus in our land are against our restoration. You are mistaken. The government of the zoo is against it. They have engaged the Islamic world to lobby on their behalf. These are the things we're encountering, meeting after meeting with dignitaries all over the world. And tonight I'm telling you this because we need to intensify. Everybody, each and every one of us has a role to play to ensure that we break down those barriers and get Biafra where it's supposed to be. One of the problems that we have and will continue to have is the inability to get our story, to get our narrative across. We don't have the money that the zoo has. You all know that. We don't have anybody sponsoring us. We don't have money coming in from anywhere. Only the contributions that we make ourselves. And we are competing against oil companies operating in the zoo that prefer the very corrupt climate of the zoological republic called Nigeria to having Biafra. You must understand this very well. And you should also consider this very fact that Royal Dutch Shell, their turnover is greater than the zoological republic. The turnover of Shell in a year is greater than the entire budget of Nigeria as a country. They don't want Biafra either. Some have said to me, why don't you offer them oil and do this? I've also replied to them that they are not interested in that. They want Alemajiri, Awasa, not Awasa, please, I apologize to Awasa people. They want the Fulani, very illiterate Fulani Caliphate to continue. A regime of mediocrity, a reign of ignorance and backwardness. Because doing business under such climate is far more lucrative than paying the correct amount of royalties and taxes due to any government. You must understand this. We are not just fighting the zoo, we are fighting very powerful forces all around the world against the emergence of Biafra. Some of you don't understand this, so I think it is imperative that I take time out to explain this to you this evening so you begin to appreciate the enormity of the task ahead of us, all of us together. And we are making tremendous headway. But I don't want to count my chickens before they are hatched. We want to be able to pursue this to its logical conclusion. And if you understand who your enemies are, you better formulate a strategy to combat and to overwhelm them. And that's exactly what we are doing. The zoo. There are some friends we have in the USA. The first time, my penultimate trip to America, I met our friends in the USA, that's what I'll call them, our consultants. I had a meeting with them. Somebody saw us, a zoo person saw us in DC, Washington, DC, and told Asorok. The next 48 hours, the vice president of the zoo, Osibajo, contacted these very people who are working for us and offered to pay them 20 times what IPOB is paying them to work for us. What I'm telling you is all confirmed. Yemi Osibajo, if you know him, the vice president of the zoo, go and ask him if he contacted the group of consultants working for IPOB in Washington or not. He offered them $2 million every month not to work for IPOB anymore. And do you know what saved us? When we signed contracts with these people, we made it very clear to them. I told the CEO of that very firm that if the zoo know that I've come to see you, they will come for you as well and they will offer you money. So you can imagine, I would say to my surprise, because I knew that was going to happen. He rang me and he told me that, exactly as I said, that the zoo approached them, the vice president of the zoo for that matter, to give them money not to represent IPOB, to give them money not to advise IPOB on how to ensure that Biafra is restored, but instead should work for them for $2 million a month. And being a firm with ethics and morals, they declined. And they told me, and I'm announcing it to the whole world this evening for you to understand the length the zoo is prepared to go to stop what we are doing. Because you must understand that Fulani has nothing. They contribute nothing. I'm not talking about natural resources. No, not at all. I'm talking about advancing a society, contributing meaningfully to a society. They bring nothing to the table. They've come to the party, they've crashed this very party that the British prepared for them with nothing. And they have taken over everything. I keep asking this question all the time. Can anybody tell me what meaningful contribution Sokoto is making to the coffers of the zoo? Let us be honest with ourselves. What is Katsina contributing? The home of the late dictator Buhari. What are they contributing to national coffers? Those of us in the South are so stupid that we don't ask simple questions. They contribute nothing. So they will do everything within their powers to ensure that Nigeria remains as one. Because without it, they are nothing. They have nothing. That is why they invest everything in buying more AK-47 assault rifles, recruiting terrorists into the army, giving them limitless amount of bullets to go out to intimidate, to kill, to clamp down on people, a reign of terror, a government of terrorism for terrorists. Some of you glibly and flippantly write about what we are doing, but you don't understand the enormity of the task. You don't have an idea. Don't have a clue as to how big this very task is. You have no idea. Do you know that in Germany, that Julius Berger is lobbying against IPOB in Germany? Are you aware of that? Because they think that if Biafra were to be free, that all the life contract they have in the zoo will come to an end. And they are paid in foreign currency. In fact, they are paid with crude oil. Are you aware of that? People say, oh, have you met this government? Have you met that government? Do you know the obstacles we encounter each step of the way? Do you know what they have done to us in the UK? You have no idea. You have a discussion with them in the UK and they tell you, oh no, are you not sure that this Biafra thing is an Igbo affair? And I say, no, it is a Biafra affair. They'll say, no. I was in Niger Delta 2-3 weeks ago. I saw them, I met them. They said they don't want to be part of Biafra. And I said, then allow a plebiscite or a referendum to determine where everyone wish to belong to. They will not do it. Because it is in their interest that the Fulanis are in charge, that the Caliphate are in charge. These are the things our people don't understand. Ask yourself, what is the budget of IPOB? And what is the budget of even an ordinary state assembly compared to what we have been able to accomplish till this very day? We went to the USA, we are seeing very important people. The same thing that the UN was telling us in Geneva is what most of them were telling us. So, because I have nothing to hide. I'm a very open book. They said to us, you've not come before. This is the very first time we're hearing about it. Oh, are you telling us that all these things are happening in Nigeria? I said, of course, yes. Because the zoo went out and bought over every mainstream media around the world. They give them money. They engage very powerful consultants. Do you know what a journalist told me in the USA? He said that they wouldn't want to fall foul of the Nigerian government. And I said, are you telling me that Nigeria has that clout? He said, yeah, of course they do. And I said, who told you? Then they started to mention the lobbyists working for the zoo, giving the impression that the zoo, Nigeria, is one giant country in Africa that can do and undo. Do you know how Nigeria threatens foreign countries not to support IPOB and Biafra? And to support this notion that the breakup of the zoo will lead to a wider conflagration, it will lead to wider regional instability, which are all lies, of course. Do you know what they tell them in Sweden, in Norway? The zoo will go and tell them, if you support anything that leads or may likely lead to the disintegration of the zoo called Nigeria, then we'll use our considerable influence in the AU to make sure that we ostracize you diplomatically across African countries. Nigeria is giving them the impression that they're the ones that controls AU. Do you see where we are going? Do you now understand the enormity of the task before us? Some people think that if you just wake up one morning and wave a magic wand, somehow, miraculously, Biafra will emerge. But look in our homes and in our villages. Are we behaving like people who are prepared for the coming of a new nation? Are we behaving like people who are now ready to accept this new nation? Some of you have not asked yourselves this question. A few days ago, should I say, yes, a few days ago, the British High Commissioner traveled to some states in Biafra land. Has anyone actually bothered to ask or find out what was the response of the governors to this very woman when she came? Have you bothered to ask yourself that question? The answer is no. Are you telling me that any governor, let us be realistic, knowing fully well that Britain is the main supporter, the direct beneficiary of the zoo, are you telling me that any governor will stand up and say to the woman, my dear woman, we are fed up with Nigeria, we want to go? Is that what you're telling me? She'll quietly go back and tell the Caliphate, and they will plot how to remove that very person by impeachment overnight. The deputy governor will say, it's the turn of my village, and the villagers start jumping, it's our turn. Let's impeach him. That is what some of these governors are going through. Of course, I know. But I insist that they must rise above it. They must rise above it. Some of them that have conscience. We travel all over the world. We are doing everything humanly possible to ensure that the world understands our plight. Because before they killed 3.6 million of us, between 1966 and 1970, they made sure there was media blackout, that no one knew what was happening. Have you actually tried to investigate and research the response of the international community? Anytime the mainstream media all over the world focus and concentrate on a particular news, like the Rohingyas, for example. Only just a few days ago, the ICC have issued indictments ICC, Rohingya in Myanmar. I'm sure some of you are aware of it. But look at the killings of our people going on every blessed year. The massacre of the Shia, the massacre of IPOB. Not up to 1/100th of what the Rohingya people suffered. But today they are getting justice via the ICC, but not us. Have you ever asked yourself why? Why Rwanda resonated all over the place? Have you asked yourself why is it that despite what the evil that this very cabal in Asarok represent, the whole world have just turned a blind eye? For two reasons. This is what they tell us. And this is where, these are the areas that people must understand, focus, concentrate, and use a bit of common sense to approach it. Nigeria is lying to them that they are the giant of Africa, that they are the stabilizer of West Africa, that should there be any disintegration, that the United Nations will not be able to raise enough peacekeepers to keep 350 warring ethnic groups together. That is the lie they are telling them. In other words, the Fulani cabal, with the help of the British, is selling this false narrative that any attempt to break up Nigeria would mean that the Bira people will be fighting the Oduduwa. Oduduwa will be fighting the Isoko. Isoko will be fighting Ishekiri. Ishekiri will be fighting Bini. Bini will be fighting Idoma. Do you see their lies? And believe it or not, from all our travels, all these lies, because they do you know what they do? They go and pay very influential researchers and NGOs to write all these reports that appear credible on the surface, but very hollow if you scratch it. Do you see what they're doing? Because they know that if they say that one man from the zoo, one Alhaji Idris Adamu, wrote it in Abuja, that the world won't take it seriously. You know what they do? They pay very expensive consultants abroad to write these reports. Do you know that we go to meetings and they ask us? We say to them, but can you see what Amnesty is saying about this? Can you see what this reputable NGO is saying? They will tell you no. It has to come from a white man. The report they accept as being credible or they see as being impartial must come from a white organization. And most of them are funded by very powerful interest groups, very corrupt groups, to write the type of report that will ensure that the zoo continues to exist as a corrupt entity. These are some of the things you people do not understand. You don't know it. That is why when somebody conscientiously in a room at the UN headquarters in New York rose up to talk about Biafra, the room became empty. The rest ran away because they've all been compromised. They think, oh, I don't want to be the person that will be responsible for the carnage that will erupt in that region should 350 ethnic groups turning on themselves. That is the lie they are peddling. Because the Fulani Al-Majri gave the impression that the north extends, their area of influence extends all the way to Benue State. And the likes of Nnamdi Azikiwe allowed that nonsense to persist. That is why we are suffering today. People sometimes say, oh, why do you always mention him? I say, because he was a learned man, highly educated, more than all of us put together. But look at the mess we are in. Because he lacked the vision and the foresight to understand the mindset of the caliphate. But we do. Do you know that the entire Sahel, so to speak, all those Islamic countries, you know they support the zoo. Now I want you to understand this very carefully. When you have Britain lobbying for you, remember that Britain is one of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council. Very powerful. When you have the largest oil exporter in the world, Saudi Arabia, lobbying for you, you're in a very good place, isn't it? And then you have IPOB fighting all these monsters and making headway, I must say. I think that the time has come for people to actually acknowledge what we have been able to accomplish, given lack of resources, the enormity of the task, and the giants that we are confronting. If not by the grace of Chukwuokike Abiyama, today we would all be dead. So I say this to you this evening for you to appreciate the depth of the work that needs to be done for us to accomplish what we are looking for. The level of discipline we need to maintain. When we say command and control, people don't understand what we mean. If we are not disciplined from the top to the bottom as a movement, we cannot succeed because of the people we are confronting. We are dealing with monsters who are very huge. Those are the lies we are facing all over the world. Some of them will say to us, but worse things have happened around the world. The killing of your people, yes. Some went as far as saying to us, the only way there can be any recognition of the difficulties you're going through is if you pick up arms. Some of them, out of frustration, say to us, if you want us to intervene, you must go to war. But we said to them, we cannot go to war. For the very simple reason that Albania didn't go to war before it got its independence, neither did Kosovo. Of course, there were some skirmishes. There was no war before Soviet Union collapsed and everybody went their separate ways. So we don't want to fight a war. If you feel there is merit in our fight for freedom, in our fight for the sovereignty of Biafra, you must do to us as you did to Kosovo, as you did to Albania. Unilateral recognition by a powerful country like the USA. We'll do it. A country that has conscience will rise up very soon, I assure you, to say it is time for Biafra to go. But we are doing, our people is because we are Republicans by nature. I'll give you an example of what's happening in America, Trump's impeachment. In any other country of the world, that wouldn't happen. People sometimes say, oh, you put out everything in the open. It will weaken you. I say to them, it will make us even more stronger. America has a very vibrant democracy. It's the greatest country on this very earth. The longest lasting civilization since man was created on the surface of this very planet. They do everything in the open. What is happening in America will not happen in Russia. But Russia is not greater than USA. The way we do things in IPOB, perhaps if you try it elsewhere, you will collapse. But our openness is our strength. It makes us a lot more stronger. That's something you need to understand. Because our people, they yearn for information. They want us to inform them as to what we are doing, and tonight I'm doing it. It is not every time that you hear very volatile press statements from us, of course not. Sometimes it's very quiet. Everywhere you think nothing is happening, a lot is happening on the ground, I assure you. And that is why every blessed day you hear them in the zoo. You cannot divide this country. Nigeria is indivisible. We must be one. Let's unite. Why do you think they're saying that? You think somebody will just wake up in the morning and say, oh, let's unite just for the sake of it? I would say it's time for the Igbos to get the presidency so that Nigeria can be one. Because we are doing something. And that thing is filtering out. When they ask questions abroad in the international diplomatic community, they tell them that IPOB was here. And this is what they're saying about you. And some of us, instead of us to apply ourselves to make sure that the whole world is aware of what is happening, we spend time talking to each other. Which shouldn't be the case. We should be talking to the world. Imagine if every politician in all the countries, let me just say, all the constituencies you have Biafrans all over the world. Imagine if your parliamentarian, your councillor, your assemblyman or assemblywoman is aware of what is happening in the zoo. Do you think the zoo can survive for 1 more month? That's how it's known. But all of us, some of us are living in Europe, some are in North America, some are in South America, some are in Asia. They are the closest politician to where they are. Do not know what is happening in the zoo. Imagine if all the parliamentarians in the UK, of course they all know what is happening, there's some turn a blind eye, we are to be reminded of the obligation to investigate and to ask questions as to what is happening in the zoo. Do you think the zoo will be the same? But instead of us to talk to our MPs, to talk to our councillors, to talk to our politicians where we are all over the world, we are busy talking to ourselves. That doesn't make any sense. If you are angry about what is happening in the zoo, as everybody must be involved in this very diplomatic effort. Diplomacy doesn't mean you go and sit down and you start negotiating. No. Inform those that need to know what is happening in the zoo. Tweet them, write to them, call their offices, call their assistants. Make sure that everybody that ought to know is aware of what is happening in the zoo. Provide them with newspaper coverage of what is going on, video clips of what is happening, all the write-ups of all the atrocities that the Fulani Caliphate are visiting on the people. Let your MPs, let your parliamentarians be aware of it. And you see what will happen to the zoo. Everybody. Not leaving it to only IPOB to do. It's a very expensive business. We are in America. How many of us travel to go and see, to have all those things in the USA? From all over the place. We convert. Very expensive business. We all know that. How much are we contributing to be enough for us to do all the things that we are doing? But we are doing it all the same. By the grace of Elohim. That is why everybody must be involved. Sitting down at home and complaining, oh, things are very bad. The army checkpoint is here. Oh, they are killing people. They are abducting people. They are doing this. You have all the pictures. You have the videos. You have all the, let's say, the US senators. You have all the lawmakers, even in Russia, because Russia is a democracy, so we are led to believe. You have the European Parliament. You have the United Nations. Even in the zoo in Abuja, UN office is there. You keep supplying them all that information. All of it. Everything you get, you forward it to them. Not jumping from one useless group to the other, looking for where people are making fun of themselves. Where Al-Majri is trying to hold you hostage by talking rubbish and you're busy responding. Why don't you approach those that matter? Approach the UN. Approach every politician you know, even those in Benin Republic, even those in Ghana, even those in Senegal, everywhere. Let everybody on this earth who is a politician and a diplomat be aware of what is happening in the zoo. And as you're doing so, ensure you make them to understand that we are distinct people. We are not one. We are not the same. Before the British came, we were living happily side by side with each other. There was no war. Let them understand that the zoo called Nigeria is an artificial creation. Or else, some of you saw what happened today in Biafra. It will continue. You saw what happened in Kogi. Do you think it's going to end? When a Fulani man is in charge of I.L.M.N.S.N and you expect something good to come out of I.L.M.N.S.N, are you insane? Are you stupid? What have they ever contributed in their life? I've asked this thing before. Name a Fulani inventor. You cannot name one. Name a Fulani poet. You cannot. Name a Fulani literary giant. You cannot name one. Name an outstanding Fulani professor. There is none. Absolutely none. So what makes you feel that something good can come out of them? It's a very simple question. A Fulani man is running INEC, running EFCC, running the police, the army. What do you expect? There is a problem we have. And I've said this many, many times and I'll repeat tonight. This problem has to do with our brain. How we analyze, how we absorb, analyze and process information in our brain is highly defective. Look at Bolivia. Do you know that in Bolivia, they gave
an order to the army to shoot at protesters, and the army said no. That these are our people. But in the zoo, look at the zoo. Because the Fulani Caliphate, they understand that without this gift, the British just handed them this golden egg. They don't want to let go. That is why they recruit their people, they indoctrinate them. Where they are not Fulani, they use Islam to get them. You ask them to open fire, and they do. On the south, anybody who is against Sunnah, Wahhabi tendency of Islam. Understand this very well. That is why they opened fire against the Shia, because it is not their sect. That is why they can come down to Biafra land and kill us as many times as possible, and nothing will happen. Once in a while, they invade Oduduwa land as well, and nothing ever happens. They kill at will. How many times have you heard that the army opened fire against protesters in Kanu, in Sokoto, in Katsina? Never. It will never happen. And do you know why it's happening? Because Nigerians are stupid. Very, very stupid. If, as one very eminent man told me earlier today, before I came on air, he said if having professors develops a country, that Nigeria should be one of the most developed countries of the world. But that is not the case. You can go and go crime or recite the thesis that somebody wrote in 1962. They give you professorship. Doesn't mean you're knowledgeable or that you're intelligent. Doesn't mean that. You have people that claim they are learned. Both the judges, the lawyers, they even foolishly call themselves elite. Elitism. For where? By rigging election. You can see the mess you are all in. I shall get to that later. That the whole Supreme Court is saying that you don't need to tender your certificate to INEC anymore before you contest. So if I am a rogue doctor and I've performed successful surgery once or twice, yet I'm not trying to be a doctor, if you take me to the Supreme Court in Nigeria, they will say, because he performed one successful operation in the past, he is now a doctor. Supreme Court. And these are learned. And I'm thinking to myself, if this is the reasoning capacity of learned people, imagine what is happening to those who are not learned in Nigeria. What I'm telling you is the truth. Investigate it. Let me go back to what I was telling you. The issue of diplomatic offensive is for everybody. Every IPOB family member, every IPOB unit, every zone, every area, everywhere you are in the world, you must get ready. Every politician in every country of the world must be aware of what is happening in the zoo. Maximum exposure. Do you know why? So that any day we march, nobody will blame you. Because if we march prematurely, the world will say, but you didn't tell us. We didn't know what was happening. And all the lies that the zoo feed them, with the help of Britain, will stick. They'll say, oh, they are rebels. They are coming up again to secede. How can I secede from something that I wasn't even a part of before? Something that was created around a table in Berlin in 1884. How can I secede from my own land, my own hometown? How is that possible? But that's how they'll write it. You have seen them. Do you know I gave an interview to Independent Newspaper, one of the largest, or should I say most reputable media houses in the UK. The others said they have interest in it. Once Independent Newspaper published that very interview from me, the other ones rang and said that is a bit volatile. They don't think they can carry it. Because zoo consultants have told them, please don't publish it. Anything you want, we give to you. That is what we are facing. When a corrupt Archbishop of Canterbury will be entertaining Jubilee, that he knows that Buhari is dead. I was part of the conspiracy. So they can keep the oil flowing from Biafra. Are you not shocked or surprised? that we don't control the resources in our land. Rather than coming and doing direct colonization, they use their house niggers, the Fulanis, to be doing the work for them. And some of you don't even understand what is happening. Some of you do not know what is going on. Or is it Facebook? Are they not against us? Are they not against us? Who isn't against us? You don't know the battle that we are fighting every blessed day. You don't know what we're encountering on a daily basis. The Fulani invaders have put everybody into captivity without knowing it. Everybody everywhere is a slave and a captive in the zoo called Nigeria. You don't know this, but they have brought their Ruga. It is now everywhere. And to ensure that they drive this caliphate agenda of subjugation of everybody who is non-Islam in the zoo, for them to get it right, they brought something called hate speech. I call it the evils of the Fulani Caliphate. These are terrorists. They are blood-sucking, corrupt politicians, all from the north. They call it. They said they're going to establish something called the Independent National Commission for Prohibition of Hate Speeches. This is where they now legislate without debating any issue. Even where the courts make rulings without any reason. A country without vision that is dead and dying and decaying. That ensures the inevitability of the coming of Biafra. People should stop lumping Hausa and Fulani together because they're not one. Those who are controlling the Hausas are the Fulanis. And everybody is now making the mistakes that they made in the past. Making the exact same mistake that was made in the past by the Hausas. The Hausas were the original guinea pigs. They allowed the Fulanis to come in to take over their land. They preached the same nonsense. We've come to fight corruption. We've come to fight corrupt leadership. And today Hausa people are gone. Wiped away from the face of the earth. The only thing they have left is their language. That is the only thing they have left. Just their language. And do you know the funniest part of this whole thing? Is that those who are supposed to speak up, those who are in the know, they have refused to learn from the bitter experience of the Hausa people that made it possible for the Fulanis to use the Hausas to sweep through the middle belt. And now today they are subjugated. Even to speak has become a problem. They said they are proposing to hang people. The Senate is going to hang people for speaking their mind, for speaking the truth. They will not hang Fulani headsmen. They will not hang the bandits in the north. They will not hang their fellow corrupt politicians. They will not hang the governors that do not pay salaries, causing untimely death in millions of homes across the zoo. They won't do it. But what they will do very gladly, is to say they will hang people for free speech. And you know why? This is the final push of the Islamic Caliphate. They said they will hang people for speaking out. And people are walking about talking about 2023, 2096, 2047 election. When the imminent danger is right in front of you. I'm not surprised. Even the Facebook streaming we are doing is down. It's down. I believe it is down. Yes, it is down. Facebook have shut it down. Yoruba people working for Facebook, they have shut down our Facebook live streaming that we are doing. But are we going to give up? Of course not. We shall continue. We shall continue. That is the marvel of what we are doing. We are going to continue. They are incapable of stopping us. This is Radio Biafra. We are live and we are direct. The time now is very close to, I think it's about 5 minutes to 8 p.m.
in the holy land of Biafra. They have completely shut us out. They have shut us down. They do not want us to continue to preach this very gospel on Facebook. Do you see the problem we're encountering? Have you seen it? They first of all started by removing people, by forcing people to leave. I'm watching it here. They have finally collapsed it and they have shut it down. But we shall go back and make sure that this very gospel continues, even on Facebook, as they don't want, because they hate. This is what we're encountering. How are we going to fight Facebook? Just tell me how we're going to fight them. Can anybody tell me how we're going to fight them? As powerful as they are. Do you see it? These are some of the things that our people do not understand. The enemies of Biafra are numerous. If you know the forces that fought against our head of state, General Odumegwu Ojukwu, when you see him, you bow. Of course, it's late, we know. But he's a man that deserves every respect and every accolade, I'm telling you. He did not have the chance to expose all these evil conspirators against Biafra. But we have that unique privilege. And that is why we are utilizing it. And we are back on Facebook, if they like it or not. We are still streaming. We are back on Facebook, and we must preach this very gospel on Facebook, if they like it or not. If they like it, let them shut this one down again. We will continue. We will restart it and continue. That's how evil they are. That is how evil they are. But we must continue, because this very gospel is very important, and it must be preached all over the world. We must preach it. We are not going to relent. We must preach it. Now, has Britain said anything? Or USA? But they're running around asking for unity. Let's live in peace and harmony and unite. Unite around what is the question? Unite against a bill that says, if you say something that we do not like, we'll hang you. So instead of legislating for jobs and for infrastructural development to make sure that people have all the necessities they need to lead a very decent and honorable life, all they are doing is to say they will hang you. And I'm saying to them, when you say you're a Nigerian, what do you expect? As long as you're a Nigerian, you have accepted that the Fulani Caliphate will rule you forever and ever. If they're not in power, as they did with Jonathan and with Obasanjo, they determine, they tell you who they want to be in power. And they control that very person. A bill to kill people for speaking out their mind, something that is contained in the Constitution. And my concern is this. Some of you may think that this is nothing, but it's actually something, because as soon as this goes to Supreme Court, if there is a legal challenge and it goes to Supreme Court, what do you think Supreme Court will do? The Chief Justice of the Federation has no certificate. He didn't go to school. He went to Sharia night school. They asked him about his certificate. He said it was eaten by termites. His certificate devoured by termites. Therefore, all you need to do now to become a lawyer in the zoo is to go and buy that wig, you know, that nonsense, that horse hair they wear, and sew a black gown. Make sure you are entering into a courtroom every blessed day. Maybe after 2 years, you can say you're a lawyer. If they ask you where did you go to school, you go to the nearest court and you swear an affidavit. And that's it. You swear an affidavit. And then you're a lawyer. That's what the Supreme Court said. Because people are in a zoo. They talk about hate speech when they themselves are the merchants of hate speech. And do you know what they have done? To tell you the people working against the common man on the streets in that damnation called Nigeria. You remember all the terrible speeches that Buhari made when he was alive, threatening people, threatening fire and brimstone. Do you know what they have done? They have gone to Google, they have sanitized Google, they have removed all those speeches. Even the one that was carried by This Day newspaper, if you can recall very well. They removed it. But thankfully, the one published by Vanguard is still there. And I'll read it for you. This is from Buhari, in whose name they are governing the zoo.
in whose name they are bringing this bill about hate speech. This is the architect, this is the master of hate speech making. When he was alive. This is Buhari. I'll read it for you so people will understand it very well. Because sometimes I keep saying this. The way black people reason is the problem. Because there are bound to be issues in any society, in any human being's life, that you are bound to have issues. How you deal with it is what matters. When there is no light in the Western world, they do something about it. There is electricity everywhere. Before, in the Western world, before you build a house, you first build a road. You pipe in gas, you pipe in electricity, you pipe in water. Then you can build a house. But in Africa, we just clear a small portion of land, we start building a house. We don't think about the water supply, electricity, or gas. Do you see the difference between the reasoning of should I say, the Northern Hemisphere, and those of us that come from the dark continent called Africa? It's very simple. And we tend to forget that building of roads and all this infrastructure will actually create jobs for people. But of course, Fulani Caliphate is in charge of your lives. Their reasoning capacity cannot stretch that far. When was this? May 15, 2012. May 15, 2012. Somebody named Buhari said, then he was the presidential candidate of the Congress for Progressive Change, CPC. He said, I identify 3 types of Boko Haram in the country, with the federal government topping the list. He said federal government was Boko Haram, followed by those he described as criminals who steal and kill Nigerians in the name of religion. This man that is bringing Ruga, this man, not him, of course, they are bringing it in his name. And he said that the original Boko Haram is the one led by Muhammad Yusufu, of course, which he supported, and he was their spokesperson for some time. He spoke in Hausa in Niger State whilst addressing CPC members who paid him a costly visit in Kaduna. He also, the CPC members are from Niger State. They paid him a courtesy visit in Kaduna. Do you know what he said? He warned that 2015, which they rigged him with the help of Obama, we all know that, will be bloody if the elections were not transparent. He opened his mouth and threatened people, in whose name they are bringing this very hate speech bill. Have we forgotten all those Alamajiri, those beggars on the street that call themselves Arewa youth or whatever they call themselves? Those beggars on the street that issued quit notice. Is that love speech? What has happened to them? They never talked about introducing hate speech. Anytime Ango Abdullahi, mouths his usual rubbish, it's not hate speech. Junaid Mohammed can say whatever rubbish that comes to his brain. It is not hate speech. What is hate speech is each time you agitate for your right to be free, it becomes hate speech to them. Each time you point out the evil that they have come to represent, it is hate speech. Each time you tell them of their double standards, it is hate speech. Each time you remind them of their nepotism, it is hate speech. Each time you remind them of their kleptomaniacal psyche, it is hate speech. Each time we remind them that Ruga will not work in our land, it is hate speech. If we say there will be no movement of Fulani cattle through our farmland, it is hate speech. When we say we are being killed and slaughtered for no reason, it is hate speech. But when it is coming from the Fulanis, nobody will dare say anything. It is love speech. That is the hypocrisy and double standards in the zoo. And these are the things that our people ought to understand. These are the things we need to know. These are the things we need to bear in mind when pursuing these efforts to restore Biafra. That some of our people do not quite reason very well. Because you cannot tell me that had Nigerians been reasonable enough, that the excesses of these present Fulani Cabal in Asorok will be tolerated. Is that what you're telling me? That had Nigerians been reasonable? Of course they're not reasonable. How can they be reasonable? How can they be, I ask you? How is that possible? He said it openly.
They went on to report that Buhari painted a gory picture of Nigeria as that of a hound and a monkey engaged in a battle for survival. This was what Buhari said with his mouth, that Nigeria is a place where people are fighting for survival, a hound and a monkey. That was what came out of his mouth when I called them a zoo, a zoo full of animals. They must understand. That's what they call themselves. He said, God willing, by 2015, something will happen. They either conduct a free and fair election or they will go in a very disgraceful way. That time, Obama gave him all the assurance that the international Islamic Brotherhood are behind him. He can do whatever he likes and get away with it. And that is what is happening here. This was what Buhari said, in whose name they are bringing hate speech. And that Baribe quite said it, and Fani Kayode and Abaribe said it. In fact, Abaribe said it put it very, very beautifully. That if the bill had been in existence by now, that Lai Mohammed would have been hanged. He should have included the dead Buhari. Would have been hanged as well by now. But all of you so-called Nigerians, this night or tomorrow morning, you will go on your social media and you write your usual nonsense and your usual rubbish. And you post pictures and you talk about beautiful nonsense. But your world is being turned upside down. The so-called democracy that Nadeko, basically the Kwame fought for, G36, is being destroyed before your eyes. This is the same thing that I said in 2015. If you make the mistake of voting in this very janjaweed, this very jihadi called Buhari, they will do to the zoo what every Islamic fundamentalist group has ever done everywhere else in the world. They come into office via democracy, and within they change the rules. They become autocratic. They will not allow you to remove them via the same means by which they came in. And it's happening today. Now, all of a sudden, when Jonathan was there, every Al-Majri was saying it's our turn. The presidency must come to the north, which means it must go to Fulani. That's what it means when they say come to the north. Nobody in their right mind will say the presidency will go to a TV man or go to an baggy man. Of course not. Are you insane? When they say president will come to the north, it means go to Fulani man. But all of you are blind or pretending to be blind and foolish. Now it has gone to them. And they are claiming that after 8 years, all the zoning arrangement would no longer hold. But they used the same zoning arrangement to justify calling for a northern presidency when Buhari ran in 2015. Do you see the way they reason? And they are reasoning this way because they think that every other person is foolish. And we have been behaving like a bunch of foolish people. The sooner we realize that only our freedom is what can guarantee us hope, electricity, simple things, good roads, running water, good schools, good hospitals, the only thing that can guarantee it is a total disintegration of the zoo called Nigeria. Anything else you're doing is a waste of time, only if you're lying to yourselves. Sheikh Husani said that Nigeria is on the road to tyranny and authoritarianism. And I'm saying, where have you been for the past few years that the dead Buhari and now Jubril has been there? Where have you been, I ask? Where have you been? Incredible, isn't it? Even the Facebook, they don't even allow comments to come up anymore. We managed to get back to Facebook live broadcast, but no longer, you can't see any comments anymore. Do you see how many enemies we have? So many. Sometimes actually a miracle, the progress that we have made so far. Going back to what Sheikh Husani said,
that Nigeria is currently on the road to tyranny and authoritarianism, and I asked him, where have you been all these few years? Dasuki was arrested. Countless court orders to release him. They are still holding him inside DSS. The same thing with Zagzagi. They did the same thing to me, but of course, you know, IPOB is not ordinary. And Chukwuka Kabiama is, of course, on the throne. When the time came, they left me because they had no choice. Now Showore is there. From nobody will come to take Showore out to he wants to be here with us. And everybody, you wake up in the morning and you go to work as if everything is normal. That is the difference between you and other people around the world. The way Nigerians are behaving. If you want to study the pattern, or should I say human behavior, that leads to chronic poverty, backwardness, primitivity, hopelessness, apathy, stupidity, all rolled into one, just go to Nigeria and observe. Just sit somewhere and look at people. In a democracy, they have turned. People who allegedly were voted into power have turned into tyrants. They decide who gets into high office or not. They own INEC. If you go to court, they'll tell you go to court if you like. You come to court, they tell Supreme Court what to say. And that's what they will say. And you claim this is our democracy. It's our turn in 2092. It's our turn in 5075. You see how foolish people are? I think that the only remedy is this. The sooner people, we blacks, actually realize how foolish we are, the sooner we will begin to solve this very problem. Ask yourself this question. Why is it that every other part of the world is advancing? Only black Africa? Why can't you ask yourself that very simple question? Why is it that every other part of the world is moving forward, only Africa? It is because of the way you reason. And in the case of the zoo called Nigeria, you don't reason at all, to be honest with you. On the road to authoritarianism, you can't come out to protest. If you call for a protest, Fulani will not come. And Fulani will use Islamic religion to convince the Hausas not to come out. And they will not come out. They will say, oh, you're trying to spoil our party for us. That's why Showore is there. We fighting for Biafra. They come to our land and they take some efulefus, they put them into power, they empower them, give them some money, give them some contracts, they have access to newspapers. If not for IPOB and how we manage to do things. Before, only those who are allowed to speak are the efulefus, of course. Those serving their kneeling down and begging for presidency. They kneel down before anything to ask for political office. But they claim that you're leaders. If not for the great work that God in heaven is using IPOB to do, by now they will go. Al-Majri will come and pick us by hand, one after the other, because of IPOB and what we are doing. So we say good morning to the likes of Sheikh Hussein, as if they never knew when I was arrested, without any charge, detained illegally. They were jumping all over the place. Those that hate Biafra, let me put it that way, or that hated Biafra out of ignorance. They are jumping, oh, they've arrested Nnamdi, he's there, he's going to die there, and all the rest of it. Now there's something that's happening to them. All of them. You no longer can speak. Now they understand it. That is why they must have respect for this very great movement. When you live in a country where almost every institution is staffed by cowards, this is what you get. Sometimes in life you have to rise up and say that enough is enough. What is happening is not good. I feel sorry for the Hausa people, because if any group should be agitating for freedom more than Biafra, should be Hausa people. Hausa people should be fighting to go back to their way of life that made them to be one of the most advanced societies before the white man came. You see these Hausa people you're looking at, one of the most advanced in the whole of Africa, I'm telling you the truth. Before the Fulani came and destroyed them. Today, Hausa is subservient. gone. Are you talking about the other minorities in the north? Not all of them in the north, Hausa or Fulani, you know that. There are minorities in the north, and I feel sorry for them. Some of them are Christians as well. I feel sorry for them, honestly. Because they have been swallowed up by this, overwhelming tide of what I call caliphate brutality, that they can no longer speak. They fail to understand that the only way they themselves can be free is by them supporting Biafra. Because Biafra means liberation for all. Everybody will be liberated. Everybody will be liberated. Everybody. Not just we Biafrans. I said everybody will be. Your fear is oil. How will you survive? It is in the interest of Biafra that everybody, every of our neighbors must be well off as well. We don't want to be overrun by immigration because everybody will come to Biafra to look for work. Don't you know that? Once Biafra is declared a free nation, we will receive the largest number of immigrants than any other country. We will even surpass USA. So it is in our interest to make sure that every neighboring country we have is also doing very well. That is how generous we are. Because you cannot stay in a country. No sensible human being should stay in a country where a Supreme Court full of judges that claim they are learned will come and say to you that you do not need a certificate to run for the office of the president of a country, when these are explicitly laid down in the Constitution. It is laid down in the Constitution. Because why do you issue certificates to people? Is it not to prove that they have completed a particular course or they have done something? With that certificate, gosh, I don't believe this. There is something wrong with the zoo and all those in it. Or should I say those that support one Nigeria. Your ignorance, your stupidity is astonishing. Your ignorance is astonishing. Supreme Court. So I want to ask the judges that held that Jubril does not need a certificate. Okay, how do I know he went to primary school? Oh, because he was an army general. So you have not seen those who are self-taught, who can sit at home and teach themselves. You've not heard of that before? People who taught themselves? Because you can speak English. So if you cannot speak English, that means you're qualified to hold any position. Do you see how people reason in Black Africa? Do you see how those that call themselves judges reason in Africa? Do you see it? And we blame everybody else for our woes around the world. Black people, we are the source of our own problem. I never blame white people for anything. They did what they were supposed to do. If you're so stupid enough, you're so careless, of course, people will take you as slaves. Don't you know that? Some people believe in feeling sorry for themselves, and I say, woe unto all of you. I don't feel sorry for myself. Any condition I see myself in, that goal I have, I continue to pursue it. Regardless of what, it doesn't matter what is happening around me. You see, this Biafra, it must come in our time, and we continue to. We are focused on Biafra sovereignty like a laser beam. Nothing will destroy. I said nothing. But blacks, you people are strange creatures. And the Supreme Court, this type of ruling is enough to set any country ablaze in the world. So that means going to school is meaningless. That's what the Supreme Court have just said. But what do you expect from Alamajiri Supreme Court, where they don't go to school in the north? Their certificate is always missing. Check all of them in high office, from Fulani, Alamajiri, Caliphate. All of them, all their certificates are missing, all of them. They are in office with affidavit. And that is the type of country that you're telling me that a human being will wake up in the morning and say, I'm a proud Nigerian. You are a complete animal. An animal is better than you because you can't reason. You can never, ever reason. And as some people funnily said, calling me a Nigerian is actually hate speech. Because you cannot go to America and call somebody a nigger. In fact, in the UK, you can't call somebody a nigger. If you call somebody a nigger, you go to prison. It's a swear. In fact, it's a racist slur. You go to prison. But you want to call me a Nigerian, a nigger from, oh my goodness. Unbelievable. Don't know the type of God that created you people, honestly. And they say that the Supreme Court is under fire for dismissing articles, what's it called, challenge. Only on the pages of newspapers, and after 2 or 3 days, all this will die down. But they have a very valid argument. If certificate is not the issue, where was it? Was that Adeleke? Was it Osun State or whatever it was? Where was it disqualified? Is it not a certificate? Is it not a certificate? But when it comes to Fulani, that is why it's a Fulani DSS, the DSSS director, Fulani Director of Intelligence, Fulani National Intelligence Agency, the Fulani Nigeria Police Force. Police Force, by the way, not police service. Police Force. So if you don't move, we move you. Nigeria Police Force. Army is Fulani. All of them are all Fulani. And they all have guns. Do you see why in Biafra land we will do things differently? Because in Biafra land, some people will live and die, they will not see an army officer on the road. In Biafra land, everybody will be trained to be an army officer. In Biafra land, no police will carry any gun. In Biafra land, the army will not come out on the street to mobilize during peacetime. In Biafra land, the right to assemble and to protest will be enshrined, irreducible right of every soul. You say whatever you like in public, whatever you like. Nobody can touch you. That is the type of Biafra we're going to build, the exact opposite of Nigeria. Everything that the zoo is doing, called Nigeria, in Biafra will do the opposite. Because there is life. Zoo means death. You are in a country where you know there is no hope. All you do every blessed day is to complain. Complain, 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 complain. You're not doing anything about your plight. Fulani is there messing everybody up. Telling you will 10-year jail term or payment of 10 million naira fine or death by hanging. A person who uses or publishes or presents, produces, plays, provides, distributes or directs the performance of any material, written or visual. Can you believe such nonsense? So somebody can do a Nollywood movie and you say you don't like it, and you can't hang them. I say it is hate speech. When I asked you not to vote, do you see the reason why I said you shouldn't vote? Do you know that Black and this UG? Do you know that had everybody sat at home and not voted, by now things would have changed? There is something some of you don't understand. You allow all these pseudo-intellectuals to brainwash you into thinking, oh, you must vote. It's your democratic right. Your PVC is your right. It's your life. It's your passport to good. It's rubbish. It is a flawed, defective system. It can never, ever work. Not in 1 trillion years. The zoo can never move forward. Not in 1 billion years. Because the Fulani will always want to rule. And they have nothing upstairs. Absolutely nothing. Write English, they cannot write. Speak it, they cannot speak. Show us your certificate, there is none. But they're in power. In a country where there is common law, where the constitution says you must present or tender your certificate. It is called INEC clearance. INEC, their form, I think it's called INEC form 0001 or whatever it's called. It is explicitly written. Bring your certificate. It is called INEC clearance. What do you go to clearance with? Your certificate to prove that you are who you say you are. And to prove that you went to school. Oh no, he's been the head of state before. He has spoken English before in public. How can you say he didn't pass? We are not saying if he passed primary 6 or not. The law says you must give us a certificate. Or a very clear affidavit. Not to go and forge results from somewhere. And tell me, of course, if you are in the military in the zoo and you organize a coup and it's successful, of course you'll be a head of state. Do you need any extraordinary, intellect to be able to do that? If you're a very wicked soul that loves killing people and you're an army officer, of course you take over power. As simple as that. Is that difficult?
10-year jail term for those who dare to publish the truth.
But anyway, the Constitution actually says, let me remind those who are peddling this bill all over the place. The Constitution of the Zoo says that any laws you make that contradicts the provisions in the Constitution, that law is null and void. That was how we brought Binta Nyako's court to a standstill. We took our time with our lawyers. We went through all the charges they filed against us and went through the Constitution. We found out that it doesn't exist. That is why the case, that is why the adjournment after adjournment after adjournment after adjournment, because there's no case. That's how we defeat. That was how IPOB crushed them. That is why they're holding 17 of our brethren in Akwa Ibom in your prisons. For nothing. Because the prosecutor is running away from the court because they cannot defend the flimsy charges they claim that we fell foul of. That was how we stopped Binta Nyako in her own court. We stopped her dead in her court. We said, this is what the Constitution said. Here it is. And this is the crime you said we committed. This crime you said we committed, this very book says it is normal. So you cannot try us. And that is why, because her husband and her child is being held by DSS. If you come to say adjournment, because there is no case to answer. That is the zoo for you. Because we know, of course, we are Biafrans. We are very intelligent people. That's why, have you heard of any conviction anywhere? Of any IPOB member convicted? You see the Alamajri that didn't go to school, right? IPOB, the terrorist group, you terrorists. Have you convicted one of us? Your prosecutors are running from the court. They can't come to court. You can arrest us and put us in jail, detain us without trial, but you can't come to court. If you come to court, we disgrace you. The Constitution of the Zoo says that free speech is a right which cannot be removed from anybody. Any laws they make in National Assembly is just a waste of time. It can never hold. Of course, but who knows? With the Supreme Court like this, they may go there and tell you that, the laws of the National Assembly supersedes that of the Constitution, despite the fact that the Constitution actually said that whichever law you make that contradicts any provision here is null and void. But the lawyers in the zoo don't even know that. Leonard friend, my fruit. This hate speech you're saying from Buhari and co, I would say Jubril and co, acting on behalf of the dead Buhari, is the exact decree number 4 of Buhari when he took over power in 1983. The same decree number 4 is exactly that was why they were insisting. APC was shouting, we need Senate President, we need the deputy, we need Speaker of the House of Reps. It must be from APC. You must go into Asrock and kneel down before Jubilee and pledge allegiance to them. This is the result of it. They have gone and brought back the dead Buhari's decree number 4, a military promulgation. The exact ridiculous bill that they are peddling all over the place is exactly decree number 4. So I ask Nigerians that claim they're in a democracy, are you not in a democracy? Or you're in a full-blown Abak-Yari-led military dictatorship? Or should I say civilian dictatorship? That's how perverse some of you are, because you cannot reason. And I keep saying it all the time without apologies. You people are animals, you don't reason very well. Your brain cells are defective. You don't reason. I ask you to go and read decree number 4 of 1983 of Buhari when he was trying to gag the press, and what is happening today, exactly the same. Because, as one clever man said, history has a way of repeating itself. The Fulani will always be dictatorial because they are feudal in their mindset. They are not democrats. Not today, not tomorrow, not next year, not in the next 50,000 years. They can never be.
They are bloodthirsty monsters. They say any law that you make that contravenes, they won't understand that. Oh dear me. Where did this your hate speech come from? This law that is it Lawan or whatever his name is? That one that looks like a walrus. I don't know where I got it, but let us see where this hate speech nonsense came from. I would advise some of you to go to Google and type in. Sorry, it's actually Decree Number 2 of 1984. Decree Number 2 actually set up the Decree Number 2 actually set up the NSO. Yes? And then it was Decree Number 4. Decree Number 4. It was in 1984. Sorry, I beg your pardon. In 1984. Listen very carefully. It didn't start today. So Showore being there is nothing new. They've been jailing Yoruba people for some time, but nothing will happen. They will say Tinubu has to go in 2092. Listen, Buhari's regime jailed the most popular artist, Fela Kuti. He was arrested on the 4th of September 1984 at the airport as we were about to embark on an American tour. Amnesty International then described the charges brought against him for illegally exporting currency as spurious. Using the wide powers bestowed upon him by Decree Number 2, the government sentenced Fela to 5 years in prison. He was released after 18 months when Buhari's regime was toppled by Ibrahim Babangida. The evil of Buhari and those governing in his name did not start today. The man has always been bad news. The same nonsense that telling you we are fighting corruption is they are more corrupt than anybody you can think of. Remember the 55 suitcases of the dead Buhari. They are more corrupt than anybody alive. Or Fulani, they are more corrupt than anybody alive. They tell you they have come to fight corruption. Look at Hausa people today and feel sorry for them. There is no emir in the north that is an Hausa man. No governor that is Hausa. They are all Fulani people. Because Hausa people, we are foolish, so stupid enough to allow Fulani to, we have come to fight corruption. Your leaders are corrupt. The king of Katsina is corrupt. The king of Kobe is corrupt. The king of Kanu is corrupt. We have come to fight the same rubbish these idiots are telling you today. And some of you are on social media writing rubbish. Writing nonsense. The same thing they did to, well, you see Awasa. Today Awasa they don't know if they're coming or if they're going. Isn't it ironic? The only thing that can save Awasa people and give them their nation back is Biafra. I'm telling Awasa people today, only Biafra can give you your Awasa, your Hausa nation back. When Zaria was the glory of West Africa. Zaria, if you don't know. The Hausa civilization was great. Anywhere Fulani goes to, they bring darkness. They bring bloodletting. They bring evil. They bring nepotism. They overwhelm you and they take over your land. That's what they have always done. And will continue to do. And they're not even blessed. That is why they produce nothing. No Fulani inventor. No Fulani writer. No Fulani poet. Nothing. They know nothing because they are empty. They are vacuous. Empty. All they do is to pump their recruits into the army, give them AK-47 and bullets, go and kill us, go and terrorize. That's all they do. Go and terrorize. But not IPOB, not these children of Biafra. You can't. There's nothing you can do. You are wasting your time, morning, noon, and night. Insofar as this IPOB is concerned, you're wasting your time. Biafra is a done deal. It doesn't matter if the Devil's Association of Nigeria, or calling themselves Association of Nigeria, it doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter what the High Commissioner says. You can say all the nonsense you like. Let's unite. Let's be one. Let's move forward. You are wasting your time. Biafra has come to stay and must stay. There is nothing you can do about it. We are unbuyable. You know that very well. I am unbribable. You cannot bribe me to abandon Biafra. It's impossible. If you come to my house and knock on the door, because we are very polite, I'm the child
of a traditional ruler.
If you come to my house
and you want to, you will open the door for you to come in. You sit down and you mouth all the rubbish. You say all the nonsense you want to say. I will tell you, thank you very much, I've heard you. Out of politeness, and I'll wave you bye-bye.
And I'll
go on air.
And I'll continue my
agitation for Biafra. Relentlessly.
That was how I allowed I.L.M.N.S.N
to come to my house of air peace. I allowed him to take pictures with me because he wanted it. Yeah, I read that time when I was talking rubbish. Me, Nnamdi, to follow you and build one Nigeria. Is it to destroy it or to build it? You must be insane.
You must be mad. Mentally deranged. That is why these days I no longer entertain anybody anymore.
If you say you want to see me, I'll tell you no, it's no longer possible. You can't see me. Because who knows? You may take a picture with me and tomorrow you start writing your usual rubbish. And idiots will be talking nonsense all over the place.
I'll deal with that later on when I address
IPOB internal matters.
We must continue. They have decree number 4.
Do you know what they called it then?
Protection against false accusations decree.
False accusation. Which is hate speech now.
The same thing, isn't it? And you say you claim you're in a democracy. This is the type of thing that should make people go on strike all over the place. Shut the whole stupid zoo down. And to your tent, O Israel. It was called then the most repressive press laws ever enacted in Nigeria. Today, they have brought it back today.
They tell you that Fulani, they can never change. Forget all the nonsense, let's live in peace is rubbish. They will never ever change.
Hausa man may change.
But you see Fulani,
my goodness,
they will never ever change.
They will remain as primitive, as feudal, as caliphate, as evil as ever.
No change in them. No change in them. That is why God never blessed them. The British are using them. And some of us are so blind and so foolish we cannot say it. We cannot say it because we are blind, we are foolish.
But thankfully, our eyes are beginning to open.
Do you think IPOB is against anybody? Do you think we're against people being free? Our desire and our hope is to see everybody liberated. I mean, every soul freed from the bondage called Nigeria. It's not about oil and gas. The sooner you get it into your skulls, the better for everybody. Every Nigerian must listen very carefully. Those foolish enough to call themselves Nigerians, people from Niger area, you must listen very carefully. IPOB agitation is not for anything. It is not driven by any selfish interest. Our overriding concern is to live as free men and women and to die as free men and women. The sooner you understand that, the better for everybody. The sooner you understand this, the better for everybody. We will give away the oil for free. God is my witness in heaven. We will pipe this gas and this oil to everybody. If you want to drink it and drown in it, so be it. Because we possess the greatest natural resource Elohim can bestow on any people. Our brain is there. That is the greatest natural resource. Not what comes from the ground. What comes from the ground only sustains lazy, idiotic people. Biafra is not about oil and gas. Biafra is about freedom. I pray every blessed day that this stupid oil and gas will dry up. That's my prayer every blessed day. Then we can show you what we are made up of. The most repressive laws ever made, and so all of you are walking about. Let's live in harmony. Let's live in unity. Are you that daft? Your brain cells are not working anymore? Are you that stupid? Are you that hopeless? Are you that unreasonable? That you don't know anything anymore? That you have allowed your idiocy to becloud your sense of judgment? One Nigeria for what? Did Tafawa Balewa believe in one Nigeria? The answer is no. Did Ahmadu Bello believe in one Nigeria? The answer is no. Did Awo believe in one Nigeria? The answer is no. It was only the idiotic Zeke that believed in one Nigeria. Look at where we are today. Because oil and water should not mix. Oil and water should not mix. I blame Azikiwe because he was intelligent enough to have foreseen what will happen in the future. As Mbonojika warned him that this stupid experiment you're taking us into will consume us as a race. He wanted to be the prime minister. Did he succeed? The answer is Britain said no, we won't give it to you. Britain said no, you're an Igbo man, we cannot give it to you. Because you grow the economy, you make Nigeria to become viable. We don't want it. We want a very poverty-stricken society that is so poor. All they care about is maybe Big Brother and to be chatting and posting rubbish on social media. We keep them occupied with nonsense whilst we steal them dry. And I'm sure I listened to an audio tape where an Hausa man was confessing that if you give an Igbo man Nigeria for 80 years, then of course things will. They know it. Everybody knows now that things will be better. Though who doesn't know that? That we are blessed. Everybody knows we are. They know things will be better. But you see how miraculous God in heaven is. No Igbo man will ever be there. Never, never, never. The same way no Israelite occupied the throne of Pharaoh. They went home. The same way we are going home. Are you going to stop us? They've not given birth to the beggar. I say with every authority. They've not given birth to the idiot that will stop Biafra from coming. You've not been born. You have never been. They've not given birth to you. No force on this earth can stop this very movement. When I speak, you write it on a piece of paper and say, everything I told you have come to pass. Only the coming of Biafra. And it will come. But we must, each and every one of us, play our own role. So the hate speech you're seeing today, the nonsensical hate speech bill, is a rehashed version of Decree Number 4 of 1984, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Even, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let me tell you what Buhari had in mind in those days. He said that the law is meant for journalists, offending journalists and publishers. They will be tried by an open military tribunal whose ruling will be final and unappealable in any court. And those found guilty will be eligible for a fine of not less than 10,000 naira and a jail sentence of up to 2 years. It wasn't today they started targeting journalists. Look at it, the same man that ruling in his name. You saw the young Bobo, IPOB chased him away from London. He ran back to Abuja. You saw him giving addressing the press. Young boy. They say he's an 82-year-old man. And some people are saying, oh, Buhari is back. When I look at it, I ask God, how did you make me a black person? I have never, to be honest with you, when I see the way that Nigerians reason, believe you me, I have no regret about slavery. Because the reasoning level of a Nigerian is so poor, so low, that it is better I converse with an animal in a zoo than to talk to a Nigerian because they're so foolish. You are telling me that young boy of 35 that you saw today, was it yesterday at the airport, that thing is Buhari? Oh dear me. Unbelievable. Black people. Black in this UG. Who did this thing? Who did this to you people? Is there any, did God make us and say, you are black, you cannot reason? Is that how God made us? I'm struggling to understand this. Are you telling me that that's how that God made black people and said, I curse you, you will never be able to reason properly like a human being? Is that what you're telling me? Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Guardian newspaper, the editors then were jailed. Thompson, Ntukai Rabo, I think, was among the journalists tried under the decree because they kept speaking the truth. Delegewa came and wrote the truth, published the truth, exposed corruption. Babangida killed him with a letter bomb. After a few years, we forgot about him. In Biafra, when Biafra comes, a house will be dedicated to Delegewa. a house, the Supreme Palace of Justice, will be named after Delegiwa. He was a man of honor. Truth. He kept speaking the truth until to the point when he opened the letter. The letter exploded and killed him. A man of honor. I'm telling you. They don't exist anymore. The Ndoka Irabos of those days, they are gone. What you have now, idiots. Give an editor, give him some money, he'll start writing rubbish. Supporting evil. Supporting evil. Unbelievable. Anyway, there is nothing that gladdens the heart of a zoo court than adjournment. You know, our case in Akwa Ibom has been adjourned again. Anyway, what do you expect when the Supreme Court have ruled that you don't need certificate anymore? Oh God. But you have to present a certificate when looking for a job. Then I'm asking myself, is the presidency not a job? If when you apply for a job, you're asked to bring your certificate, it's not that you cannot speak English. The people that you're applying to, you've given them your CV, you've been to an interview, you've spoken all the grammar in the world, they still need your certificate. Isn't it? So, oh dear, Zoo. The Supreme Court is saying a certificate is no longer needed for you to be able to prove that you actually attained that very level of education. Oh dear me. I think the education in the zoo is dead. It was dead before anyway. It is now completely and totally buried. And as some of you were busy, you know, talking about election. Now, who are those? Is it N.N.S.N, their throne and 2092 is our turn. Let me tell you what the Al-Majri said. The man responsible for running the zoo electoral system, a Fulani man, to run a system as complex as voting, counting, collating, and announcing of results. Ask him to go and move cattle from Funtua to Zungeru. They gave him my neck. Oh dear me. Let us hear what he had to say. He is the executive. He is even a professor. This is why professorship in the zoo is meaningless. He's a professor. He said he's the former chairman of Independent Commission of Nigeria Election. Jega. Do you know what he said? He decries the failure of the electoral process to entrench good governance in Africa. Al-Majri is speaking English. To use democracy to enlighten Africa. Al-Majri. He left his head of cattle in the National Stadium in Abuja. He entered plane and went to, I don't know if he traveled he went to Ibadan. He's delivering a lecture, convocation lecture, towards credible electoral process and sustainable systems. Sustainable systems in Nigeria. What role for universities? It was university chancellors that were rigging elections. Chancellor, with their gown. Undertaker. People going to a funeral. Vice chancellors were busy rigging elections. And you're telling me there is hope and future in Nigeria. I struggle to understand it. Every day I struggle to understand how your average Zoo Nigerian, how you reason. I struggle to understand it. He said, listen to me. This is what I said about Africa. This UG black. This is Al-Majri. All over, this is what he said. All over Africa and indeed to some extent throughout the developing world, the electoral process is failing to entrench good governance and stable and sustainable democratic political systems as a result of what can be termed as a deficit of electoral integrity. Grammar. Because Fulani people are criminals from time. They are deceivers. They are liars. from time immemorial. Othman Danfodio came to conquer. He said he wanted to dip the Quran in the Atlantic Ocean. The grandchild or the great-grandchild, Ahmadu Bello, wanted to complete it. Ahmadu Bello gave an interview. This is the so-called our founding father. When a zoo animal talks about their founding fathers, they've forgotten that Ahmadu Bello granted an interview to a BBC correspondent. And in it, he said, I don't like the Igbos. When they come to your place, they take over everything. The man asked him, what do you mean? He said, the man asked him, does it mean you will not employ an Igbo man? He said, no, we won't employ him. The man said, how about if you have shortage of manpower? Do you know what he said? He said, I will employ you a white man first before I employ another person. In fact, no, I will not employ an Igbo man. A so-called founding father of Nigeria is telling you he will employ a white man before an Igbo man who is a so-called fellow Nigerian. And you wake up in the morning and you tell me you're from Ohaneze, you're a governor, you are in Ifulefu, you're in Lagos, you're in Abuja. You want to belong to one Nigeria. I don't get it. I just don't understand it. That is why we do what we do. They will never love you. They will never, not in a million years. And all of you, those who are claiming they're from Niger Delta, to Fulani people, you are yammering, you are the same thing. You are the same people. Shell will pollute your land in Ogoni. Our land, of course. They will come, the military will come and sack everywhere. Britain will ensure media blackout all over the world so the world will not know what is happening. And the army is busy rampaging, busy stopping people and doing stop and search, screaming people, disappearing people every blessed day. Britain assured Nigeria, don't worry, there will be media blackout all over the world. Nobody will hear about it. Jega is speaking grammar, entrenching democracy and moving forward. In 1884, Europeans recognized that Africans are backwards mentally. They sat round the table in Berlin and carved Africa into pieces. And exactly what they said, that Africans will accept it, Africans swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. That's why we are in the mess we are today. And I ask you, where did they sit down to draw the map of Europe? I'm asking a simple question. But Europeans sat down in 1884 in Berlin and drew the map for Africa, decided King Leopold will give you Congo. You take this, you take this amongst themselves. Do you know the funniest thing? They said that an African man is so stupid that he will accept these boundaries we are drawing for him, and surprise, surprise, we accepted it. That is why we are in the mess we are in today. And that is why we cannot reason. But thankfully, and thank God for IPOB, we are here and we can reason and we are moving forward. But others are praying for unity as we are moving forward. From the MA, people say, what is IPOB doing? If IPOB is not doing anything, why is the MA begging for unity? If IPOB is not doing anything, why is it that the Christian Association of Nigeria is begging for unity? If IPOB is not doing anything, why will the British High Commissioner come to Biafra land begging for unity? Because some of us are black, we are stupid, we are backwards, we cannot reason. We cannot put one and one together and get two. Why can't can't you reason? So all of a sudden they're begging for unity and you think nothing is happening. Because you're foolish. Our people are foolish. They said the world is listening. Why wouldn't I curse people? Because if you're foolish, I'll tell you you're foolish. We are useless. Africa is poor because black people cannot reason properly. That is the truth. There's no need being sentimental over it. I'm saying you are not a human being until you prove you are a human being. I have no time to feel sorry for myself. I have no time for that rubbish. His name is Alhaji Muhammad Ibn Abali Muhammad Idrissa, the Emir of Fika and Chairman Council of Chiefs in Yobe State. He has appealed for peace and unity amongst Nigerians because they have nothing to offer. They have nothing to contribute. I keep asking the same question over and over again. Apart from political appointees, apart from quota graduates they have from ABU, quota graduates, I mean, if you're qualified, if you're not qualified, you're a graduate. Go ahead, go forth and multiply. That's what they're doing in the north. Show me what they have produced. One thing they have created. One. The answer is zero. There is none. Nothing. They keep begging for unity as IPOB keeps moving forward. And as in before, when the dead Buhari came into power, there was economic meltdown. And a few days ago, the World Bank confirmed that listen to this. 322 Nigerian firms shut down in 5 years. There's some people are saying, if you ask them, he's fighting corruption. And I'm asking them, are you people deaf? It was this same fighting corruption that the Fulanis used to conquer and useless Hausa people. Anytime you tell them that this particular Abakari presidency is a failure, they say they are fighting corruption. You are a graduate, you don't have any job, and you believe in one Nigeria. Are you sure your brain cells are complete? After your parents must have suffered, scraped, saved, sent you to school, you know you stand no chance in hell of getting any decent job. One day things will be better. For how many years? They say a fool at 40 is a fool forever. For how many years? With the dynamics on the ground, with what is happening in the zoo called Nigeria, do you think things will ever be better in Nigeria? Let's be honest to ourselves. Do you think so? The answer is no, of course. It can never ever be better. Then you're asking, what is the solution? Is not restructuring. The solution is to your tent, O Israel. Everybody should go back to where they come from. Then if there is need for people to get together and answer whatever name they like, form whatever constitution they like, all well and good. But you see this artificial British creation called Nika area, everybody is doomed. I'm telling you the truth. 322 firms, companies making something, providing goods and services, shut down. How many have they created? They keep sharing money amongst themselves. Dangote will give money to this family, that one will share. They keep sharing. They go to central bank. They keep sharing money, minting money and sharing money. Very sad indeed. Very, very sad indeed. And these are the areas that gives me so much concern. There is this report. I am asking people, those who are in support of border closures in the south, please, I'm begging you to go to any Sokoto market. You will see foreign rice in Sokoto market because their borders are open in the north. They are trading with Niger Republic, trading with Chad, trading with Cameroon. But in the south, the same, what I call a fulefu mentality, the same, I don't know, is it, as somebody said today, maybe there's something in their suya. One of our sisters wrote, where is it that they always sell suya at night, not during the day? Maybe there is something in that suya that they sell to our people that after eating it, we begin to think like I don't know, I can't describe this. While they shut down the borders in the south, the borders of the north are open. And you see nothing wrong with it. And you want to play the good Nigerian, the detribalized Nigerian, in your air-conditioned house in Ikoyi with 4 generators. And you are detribalized. You see how foolish some of you are. In Sokoto market, there are foreign rice is coming in. Foreign rice is coming in. That is foreign rice in Sokoto. That you have our people, some of them who claim that they are intellectuals, telling you that closing of the border is good. But in the north, the borders are open, very porous. I think one of their politicians actually came. It's on video. Please, can I have that circulated everywhere? Please circulate it everywhere. That very video of the Alomajiri saying that their borders in the north are open. He said it on the floor of the House of Reps to the hearing of everybody, that the borders in the north are open to everybody. But those of you foolishly, I don't know what Fulani did to some of you, to your brain. I don't know what they did to you.
As you will come to the so-called Niger Delta, nothing is working. Life is as horrible and as harsh as it could be. But they cannot see it. They don't see a way out. That Biafra is the only way. Of course, they do see. I do apologize. There is IPOB everywhere. Those arrested and detained in Ikotepene, or should I say in New York, we keep going to court every two weeks. All the names there, go and check it. All of the names. There is no Igbo person there. None whatsoever. In case some people will rise up tomorrow and be talking nonsense about how what we are doing. What we are doing is they say Igbocha radio is off. I don't know if it's back on again. You know, anytime I announce more than 48 hours that I'm coming on air, something always happens. Why should Igbocha radio be off? Please, I need confirmation. Why should Igbocha radio be off? I don't understand it. For the life of me, I do not. I need confirmation that Igbocha radio is actually on and working. I want to read out the names of some of our people who are detained in Akwa Ibom. So you understand. Those that say, oh, IPOB is in a Igbo affair. I want all the Alamajiris to listen very carefully. In fact, I want this thing to be published everywhere. I will try and send it. I will try and multitask and forward it to my secretary, Amaka, to make sure that this is circulated everywhere, to let the world understand that Biafra was never an Igbo affair and can never ever be. I want this placed everywhere, and the particulars of offense that they have been charged with, which they can never ever prove. I want to prove it to the whole world tonight that Biafra is everywhere. And I want to let the British High Commissioner and all of them in the Foreign Office in Britain saying that Biafra is an Igbo affair to go to the prison in Ikotepene and say this to the following Biafrans, 17 of them: Aniekan James Udo, Prince Joshua Apan, Namkere Friday Peter, Anthony Owa, Nsiobong Sunday Joseph, Anietie Ekong Thompson, New Israel John, Maurice Okon Effiong, Jeremiah Daniel Umo, Victor Sunday Etim, Ndueso Friday Johnson, Emmanuel Michael Essien, Akon Victor Jackson, Udoma Ebel, Stephen Etim Edem, Uwem Abasi Duke, Timothy Ukbong Obot. These are IPOB, Biafrans hardcore. They have not been complaining. They are in jail because of Biafra. And tomorrow somebody will tell me that Biafra is an Igbo. They are in jail. They are not complaining. Some of them are sick as we speak. They are hardcore, diehard Biafrans in jail for their land, for that same land that we are born. That same place they have been jailed. That's what they're fighting for. Under this very noble family, IPOB. Sometimes our enemies do not understand us. Then they can never understand us. Because we are formidable. Exceptionally formidable because we are IPOB. Indestructible. There is nothing they have not tried. They have all failed. That is why it brings us very hastily to the Christian Association of Nigeria. I am telling whoever is their chairman, his name, they said his name is Ayokunle. If you know him, tell him Nnamdi said he should mind his business. He should pray to whatever he's praying to for his one Nigeria. It doesn't affect Biafra. Biafra is not and can never be part of their useless one Nigeria. And very, very briefly, we have our people who were arrested also in Ekiti State on evangelism on the 12th of November. In Ekiti State, they were arrested. Mada Abuchiwani, Friday Ogazi, John Enyi, Mrs. Uboja Osla. These are the things we should be tweeting. You see our people in prison in Akwa Ibom. You see those arrested in Ekiti State, held by DSS. Mada Abuchiwani, Friday Ogazi, John Enyi, Mrs. Uboja Osula. They were arrested in Bank Road in Ado Ekiti. This is the latest act of barbarism by the Nigerian government, and I can assure them it is a nail in their coffin, this coffin of one Nigeria. The Fulani terror headsmen terrorizing Ekiti State have not been arrested. Politicians looting the treasury dry are moving about freely, but Biafrans continue to suffer. Do you want to help Biafra restoration? Tweet the names of these people to every frontline politician all over the world and every media house. One day they will listen. You must continue, so that when I go to all these meetings, when they see me, they will not say, oh, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. That is how you can help us. That is our diplomatic onslaught. That is how you can help us achieve greater goals in this very effort we are making to restore Biafra. Because the grand deception of the caliphate and the surrender of a largely cowardly and docile population is the reason why we are suffering today, and we must counter it. Why are they doing this? Because they believe that they can deceive all of us. Their borders in the north are opened, ours in the south is closed. As gunmen kill 3 policemen in Kaduna, they are patrolling and claiming they are arresting people in the southeast. Operation Identify Yourself. Do you know that they have a list of names of hardcore IPOB activists? So what they do is they ask you for your ID and they check it against the names that they have. If you're one of those people, they disappear you. I want pictures of every army checkpoint in Aba. I've said this before. I want it to be flooded. If you don't know where to post it, send it to my page, Mazi Nnamdi. Of course, you see it's about 125,000 likes. You see it. You know that the zoo cloned and they have some fake Mazi Nnamdi pages, but the original one is there. If you want to find it, you find it. Send it to us. All those pictures, because I have told frontline politicians in the US that our land is under siege. We need evidence. Every blessed day, we need the evidence to keep sending it to them, to show them what Al-Majiri Fulani Caliphate is doing in our land, so that when the time comes, nobody will blame us. That's what we're trying to do. You must understand that. They have a list of people in our land, activists. When they say operation, show your ID, they're not doing it in the north. We are 3 policemen, we are gone. Can you imagine if 3 policemen were gone down anywhere in Biafra land? The nearest village will be gone by now. But have you seen that 3 policemen were killed in Kaduna? Have you heard that the army invaded anywhere or killed people? That's what I'm telling people. I don't know when we will acquire some reasoning, but hopefully in the future we will. But today we continue to preach this very gospel. And Pat, who told me, actually captured it very well. He said that people are trying to escape from the zoo. Why would people escape from Nigeria? Who in their right mind would want to stay caged in a zoo? Like some people say, of course, that I should stop calling Nigeria a zoo, that zoo is actually a very respectable name, that the real name should be a jungle. But I use the zoo because they use generator to generate electricity at least. There is light in some places. And for those who are hopelessly placing their hope in their PVC, you heard what Aisha said. She's begging Nigerians to allow somebody who has not paid salaries for 36 months to continue in power. That is a full feudal system for you. Al-Majiri. Come and beg and we'll feed you, give you a bowl of rice. Aisha Buhari campaigning for Bello, asking for people to forgive him, a man who hasn't paid salaries for 36 months. And it's all dividend of democracy. And you're telling me that Nigerians are normal? Of course they are not. Of course they are not. We must move very speedily. We have gone past to our mark, and right now we have, of course they have sworn to keep Zagzagi in prison. This is a very important announcement, please, for everybody traveling to Aba. The Zoo Army, Nigerian Army, are going about searching for IPOB everywhere. They will stop you and will unlock your phone. They will ask you to open your phone as well. That's what they are doing. As they are searching people, I want those nearby to safely take pictures and videos of this harassment. Lawmakers want it all over Europe and all over America. They need it. They said they need all this evidence of Nigerian army molestation, documentation of Biafra land. They said we should keep sending this information to them. Any pictorial evidence, any video evidence, we should forward it to them. Please, if you see our people being searched,
Go to a very safe distance and video what is happening. Take pieces of what is happening and forward it to us, please. Send it to Radio Biafra London, any of our Facebook groups, please, and we'll try and get it and forward it to those that matter, those that will look into it. And for those who do not know, IPOB is awesome. You must understand that. And we function on discipline. This is a very special announcement tonight. People must listen very, very carefully. There are some changes that we have had to make in order to move things forward. Abia State Executive is shut down from tonight. Abia State Executive alone is shut down. And in the interim, somebody will take over Abia State. Abia State coordinator, the deputy, the entire executive is stood down from tonight with immediate effect. And mind you that we are a disciplined organization. We are a disciplined organization. Anything we ask you to do is what you are going to do. Anything we ask you to do is what you are going to do. Because we have a lot ahead of us. Quite a lot ahead of us. So you must understand this. You must understand it. And in its place, the interim coordinator for Abia State is Nnamdi. Nnamdi is the interim coordinator for Abia State. The Abia State coordinator and the deputy is hereby stood down with immediate effect. Nnamdi is from this very night the coordinator of Abia State. His executive will be just the 3 senatorial coordinators in that very state. Let me see who will not cooperate with him this time around. I also want to make it very clear that there is nothing like warrior zone, lion zone, or frontier zone in Iguacha. We can have Area 1, Area 2, Area 3, no nickname. We are one IPOB, we are one family. No association, no group, no nickname. We are simply IPOB. So when something happens, we know where it's happening from and we know how to combat it. I must make that abundantly clear. And everybody must be loyal to their superior officers, as simple as that. As simple as that. Simple as ABCD. Also, there are those who may have misunderstood us. And I want to make it explicitly clear that people come to my house to visit me, or when I came out of prison, or when IPOB forced my release from prison, because those I was arrested with are still in jail till today. Dasuki, Zagzagi, and very lately Shore. They're still there. I am alive and out today because of IPOB, and of course the grace of Elohim. That is to tell you how powerful IPOB is. The only people that managed to set their leader free. Relentless protest. People died. You're telling me that people died protesting for me to come out of jail. And I'll come out of jail and I'll be negotiating with Nigeria. Are you insane? You know, what, by granting that useless interview to BBC, I will no longer speak to Alan Onyema, nor have regard for him ever again. Never, ever, ever. Because I never knew that our people, some of them can be this opportunistic. So people come to Nnamdi kind of to take pictures and then go and claim something that never happened. And after that, after coming to see me to pledge one Nigeria with you, I then went to Ohafia to declare that I will take 2 million men with me to Abuja and that I'll come back with the head of Jubril. Sometimes our people should be able to reason. People should stop seeking favor with our name. IPOB is a hallowed name, respected all over the world. Once you mention IPOB, you're granted asylum wherever you are. That is how respected we are all over the world. I don't want any idiot messing up with it. Back in the zoo. This goes to every national family all over the world. No think tank,
Make it very, very, no think tank. No association of any kind. No other name. Our name is IPOB. Simple and short. No other name. No other name. Only IPOB. You must understand this. We have IPOB Students Wing, which is our youth wing. We have the IPOB Council of Elders. We have our IPOB women in various countries all over the world. We have IPOB children. We have the IPOB Volunteer Command, which is the apex security outfit we have. Volunteer Command is right at the top. BSS is at the middle, of course, reporting to the Volunteer Command. Volunteer Command is the highest setup we have in terms of security. Anybody converging, referring to themselves as anything else is mistaken. We run a disciplined movement. If you're not disciplined, you cannot be part of us. We are where we are today because we are disciplined. Let me reiterate again this evening that Anambra Deputy Coordinator is removed. Onwatuegu is the overall Anambra State Coordinator. Only Onwatuegu for now will be holding meetings with the 3 senatorial coordinators. If Onwatuegu calls you to or invites you to a meeting and you fail to attend, you will be removed from IPOB. We are a disciplined movement. We have ways of resolving disputes. People should not take laws into their own hands or try to be insubordinate to their superior. I repeat, Onwatuegu is the overall Anambra coordinator. If you disobey him, you disobey me. If you work against him, you work against me. If you organize meetings behind his back, you are doing so to spite this very noble movement. His deputy is hereby stood down with immediate effect. He will not convene any meetings nor attend any. If you host him, you'll be suspended. You must understand this. No inauguration of any sort will take place in Anambra State without the knowledge and approval of Onwatuegu. Any person organizing IPOB meeting without the knowledge of the state coordinator will be disciplined or even expelled from IPOB. Anambra Deputy Coordinator, I repeat, is hereby removed with immediate effect. I will appoint a new one in the coming days. I must also warn that no LGA coordinator should be removed or replaced in Anambra. Nobody should try it. Everybody who is there remains in their position. Only the Biafra Land National Coordinator will be able to determine otherwise. Failure to attend any meeting convened by the state coordinator will attract instant suspension. And finally, everything abominable about the contraption zoo is hastening its demise. Everything they do will bring them down. But we must never, ever forget what the former president of the zoo said earlier today, during the Biafra elections. He said, I am disappointed with what I have seen today compared to other countries. When the former president says he is disappointed, then you know what? After all these years of electioneering, they can never get it right. Rigging, thuggery, violence, ballot snatching. And some idiots are looking forward to 2023. That's how foolish we are. But thankfully in IPOB we are not. That is why here on Radio Biafra is where we worship, because Biafra is our religion. And Chukwukika Biama Priminyanine is our God. There is no other apart from him. From me, from here, it is good evening.